morning, Acadiana. Thanks for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate, our source of local journalism. They give us all the stories that are fit to print every day of the week. You can check them out at theadvocate.com. You can check us out at aocinc.org if you want to check out all the things that we at AOC Community Media do around the community and with the community. And we are fortunate to be able to bring you this public service every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Thanks to the generous support of our volunteers, people like the wonderful and hopefully turkeyful Bruce Cohen.
Turkeyful? Yeah, I would say so. I cooked a turkey yesterday.
That's excellent. We actually had meatloaf ourselves, so that was a pleasant surprise for me. I didn't know, and it was great.
Was it tofu?
No,
loaf,
it was
or
regular meatloaf.
Oh yeah, you're a meat guy.
I would eat a tofurkey loaf. In fact, I like tofurkey, so if you ever want to give me a gift, I'll take it.
Okay, sounds put it on my list.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for reading the news. I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street.
Okay, bud. And that's my main man, Matt, who helms the tech aspect of this morning broadcast that we do Monday through Friday, Local News Live. Couldn't do it without him because we are broadcasting from our home studios for the last, 9 to 10 months. So it's been great to continue to bring you the Local News Live. So let's just get right into it. This is November 27th, Friday, November 27th, 2020. Lafayette students back to hybrid classes. Rise in virus cases promise changes for middle and high schools by Katie Gagliano, staff writer. Middle and high school students in Lafayette Parish's public schools will transition back to a hybrid in-person and virtual learning schedule after the Thanksgiving holiday. Lafayette Parish's school system announced change Tuesday as students prepared to depart for the Thanksgiving break. Middle and high school students had begun a gradual transition back to full in-person learning November 9th, but a recent rise in coronavirus cases in the community led the school system to shift course. Two high schools, David Thibodeau STEM Magnet Academy and Southside High, were recently closed to in-person learning after a high number of students were quarantined after exposure to COVID-19 infected people. Those students will join their peers in returning to a hybrid schedule November 30th, a statement from district spokesperson Allison Dickerson said. While we know that face-to-face instruction is best for all students, our goal is to take proactive actions now to avoid closing schools entirely. We recognize that this is a fluid situation and we will continue to evaluate and adjust our learning model based on the most current information we have available, Dickerson said. Middle and high school students will continue on the hybrid schedule, at least to the end of the fall semester. District said in an announcement regarding plans for how students who will return on January 4th will come before the holiday break. School Superintendent Erwin Trosclair has urged families and district communications to remain diligent in adhering to virus mitigation efforts, including at home and over the holidays, such as wearing masks, social distancing, and hand washing. Every member of our community plays a part in helping to slow the spread of this virus, as well as keeping our students in school, Trosclair said in the statement. Students will be on a B-week schedule when they return November 30th, meaning students considered the B attendance group will have in-person classes on Friday. Elementary school students will continue to attend fully in-person classes. UL COVID-19 testing site closes. National Guard takes down tents as semester ends by Ken Stickney, staff writer. Wednesday marked the day to strike the tent for National Guard soldiers who've staffed the University of Louisiana at Lafayette's COVID-19 testing site for the fall semester. Wednesday was the semester's end when most students were making their way back to their hometowns and family. Mark Mallory, a graduate student in history, said he stopped by for a COVID-19 test Tuesday before traveling on to Opelousas to see his family. I'm glad they offered it to anyone, even those who are not showing symptoms, he said. Eric Marone, campus spokesperson, said test numbers increased in the Twin Tents That's Marin. Erica Marin, campus spokesperson, said test numbers increased at the twin tents near the intersection of Haybroad Boulevard and Boucher Street, with COVID-19 cases rapidly escalating in Acadiana. Students heading home this week got tested to make certain as best as possible that they not bring the coronavirus home to family. That's when we saw our biggest push, Marin said. Sergeant Joe Brown of the 844th Engineer Company out of Pineville said he has staffed the center since October 1st. He says students who came by were responsible people who mostly wanted to make sure they didn't spread the illness to others, especially family. He said numbers stayed up, usually in the vicinity of 60 or so tests per day. November 11th, Veterans Day, saw 197 students tested. On Monday, he said there were 97 tests, and there were 86 on November 16th, 56 on November 17th, and 63 on November 18th, and 50 on November 19th. The testing center was closed November 20th. Late mornings and afternoons were busier than early mornings, he said. Brown said UL athletes tested frequently. The same held true of Nice State University athletes when they were on campus after being displaced by Hurricane Laura. Marin said that since October 19th, 1,435 students were tested on campus. Testing usually occurred from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, although it was scheduled to end at 1 p.m. Wednesday. During the week of November 15th, UL recorded more than 100 positive COVID-19 tests. Most of those were self-reported by students, including those living off campus. During the week of November 22nd, 12 cases were self-reported by students. One was confirmed on campus, and 6 cases were confirmed among faculty and staff. Since March 16th, when the pandemic began, there have been 166 confirmed student cases on campus, 336 self-reported student cases, and 63 confirmed faculty or staff cases. That's a total of 565 cases. UL enrolls more than 17,000 students. Lafayette retailers urge people to shop small. Downtown shops look ahead to Small Business Saturday by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. Downtown Lafayette retailers are hoping this holiday shopping season could be a turning point in how people view the district. Long established as a place for a good meal, downtown has expanded to become home for more retail spaces. And it may stay that way if business owners like Robin Thibodeau of Designs by Robin have any say in the matter. The person behind Designs by Robin opened her retail store at DBR Designs at 505 Jefferson Street as one of a handful of non-eateries to open downtown. They and other retailers that have long been housed along the Jefferson Street corridor will be in the spotlight this weekend for Black Friday and for Small Business Saturday, in an effort to encourage people to shop small. People are not recognizing the resurgence of what's going on in the downtown area, said Thibodeau, who opened her store in August. As a small business owner, we're all wanting to make it. We need people to get out a little bit. Every city needs a thriving downtown area. We want Lafayette to be strong, but we need to keep it strong. Small Business Saturday means more to downtown Lafayette this year. Already home to a fashion store, record store, and other locales, it's welcomed retailers offering bicycles, consignment outdoor gear, a grocery market with locally made items, and a bookstore. Shopping event was a marketing strategy created by American Express in 2010 as a means of recovery following the recession. 10 years later, the situation is similar. COVID-19 and its effect on the economy has slowed business for many retailers. American Express reported that 62% of small business owners said they need to see sales reach pre-COVID-19 levels by the end of the year in order to stay in business. Another obstacle will be Governor John Bel Edwards ordering the state back to phase 2 because of rising virus cases in Acadiana and elsewhere. Retailers will be reduced from 75% to 50% occupancy. This day is a reminder for people to go out and support local businesses run by your neighbors, colleagues, and friends. People who live, work, and raise their families in our community, said Anita Begnow, CEO of the Downtown Development Authority. Our small businesses are the backbone of Lafayette's downtown district, so it is imperative that when we plan our holiday shopping, that we intentionally spread the love and our dollars to local shops and restaurants. At Beausoleil Books, which opened in the former Indian close cafe at 302A Jefferson Street. The store will do promotions for the weekend, including 30% off puzzles and contests to buy pre-wrapped books as a way to open readers up to new authors, co-owner Brian Dupree said. As to what to expect this weekend and up until Christmas, well, it's hard to compare when you've been in business for only a month. It offers online sales, curbside deliveries, and walk-ins, but based on business so far, they're optimistic. Our store is a pretty big space, he said. So far, people have been able to come in and browse the store, and it never feels like you're in close quarters with people you don't know. People who come in are, are interested in the products we have. I find people are coming in because people are excited about the store and want to support a local business. Adrian Guidry's Adorned Retail Shop at 100 East Vermilion Street, Suite 140, offers custom artisan jewelry and the latest fashion trends. Guillory's business has an active social media presence. She is bullish on buying local for the holidays. By shopping in downtown Lafayette, you're not only buying a unique gift, you're supporting individuals who took a chance on their dreams and work with passion every day, Guidry said. You are helping local stores continue to thrive and stay in business. Thibodeau cites her 5 employees at her store as one reason to make every effort to stay in business. Despite not having a website, the store is active on social media and uses it to communicate with customers, she said. I should do anything within reason to help with sales. If you need us to do delivery within the city limits, I'm willing to do that. We're trying to get people to remember there are retail places downtown, she said, and you need to shop downtown. Now, let me just take a sip of my tea here before we move on. My throat's getting a little itchy this morning. Okay. Hopefully that should clear things up a little bit. Next story, there's no way you couldn't love him. Friends react to the unexpected death of Rufino's founder by Yusef Radhan, staff writer. Ruffin Rodriguez Jr., a former LSU football player, grew up in the Rufino's restaurants in Baton Rouge and Lafayette, died unexpectedly from a heart attack Tuesday night. He was 53 years old. Before founding Rufino's, Rodriguez was a starting offensive lineman for the Tigers between 1986 and 1989, a dynasty era that saw the team notch Southeastern Conference championships in 1986 and a shared title in 1988. He loved football, and he even loved Louisiana. Former teammate and starting quarterback Tommy Hodson, who lived with Rodriguez for 5 years while they were in college, said, after graduating with a marketing degree to play for the World League of American Football until an injury ended his career. Excuse me. When he returned to Louisiana, he put his marketing background to use, working for food and beverage companies before taking over Rufino's in 2000, which had been owned by then LSU coach Jerry DiNardo under his own name. The popular Italian Creole fusion eatery in Baton Rouge saw success under Rodriguez's ownership, which led him and his business partner, Pina Sclafani, opening a second restaurant in Lafayette in 2013. A year later, they were named Restaurateurs of the Year, one of the Louisiana Restaurant Association's top honors. News of Rodriguez's unexpected death through the restaurant industry Wednesday as friends and rippled through the restaurant industry Wednesday as friends and restaurant peers exchanged texts and memories. He had an infectious smile, an infectious personality, and just bent over backwards to serve people, said Stan Harris, president and CEO of the Louisiana Restaurant Association. The restaurant businesses were a good fit for him. When Louisiana was under a stay-at-home order because of the coronavirus, Rodriguez sought to uplift customers from the stresses of the pandemic by including a bundle of cotton candy with every to-go order. During that time, he could be found at all hours of the day covered in blue and pink sugar as he perched over the candy machine he set up in his office. There's no way you couldn't love him, said Jim Urdialis, the owner of Matizo restaurant in Baton Rouge. He was always the life of the party. Harris said he spoke to Rodriguez on Tuesday afternoon following Governor John Bel Edwards' announcement that restaurants and other businesses will have to scale back capacity. He died too soon, Harris said. For For Rodrigue's restaurant guest, who was known to burst into song in the restaurant, friends and peers were called his larger-than-life personality and a strong voice for locally owned restaurants. Fellow restaurateurs frequently turned to Rodrigue when they needed a hand with lobbying at the legislature or in Congress. If you needed him as a voice, he would be there in a heartbeat. Dalios said, "We lost a pillar of the industry that helped reshape it in the last few years." Rodrigue had been advocating for grants and relief for restaurants hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. He was able to keep his staff on the company payroll with money generated through takeout orders. His restaurants remained open Wednesday to cater to their patrons' Thanksgiving needs and to celebrate life the way Ruffin would have wanted, the restaurant said in a statement Wednesday. "He'd want us to push on and make pretty remarkable experiences," said Megan Koch, Director of Operations at Ruffino's. Rodrigue is survived by his wife and 2 children. Funeral arrangements were pending. All right, let's look at a couple of public service announcements. Vitalant, urgent need for blood donations. Blood and platelet donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses. But this year, the outlook is particularly worrisome. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses in work-from-home situations, about 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a power red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting vitalant.org, that's vitalant.org, or by calling 877-25-VITAL, that's 877-25-VITAL. And the Better Business Bureau of Acadiana is announcing their annual Thanksgiving food drive. As Acadiana looks to enjoy cooler weather in our holiday season, starting with Thanksgiving, it's important to remember our community during these trying times. As part of their impact initiative, Better Business Bureau is serving Acadiana is hosting a food drive through Monday, November 30th. Food donations can be dropped off to the BBB office at 4003 West Congress Street in Lafayette and will be given to the Second Harvest Food Bank in their efforts to end hunger. The Triple B team will pick up donations if requested. Second Harvest's suggested donation items include non-perishable foods and supplies, preferably in non-glass containers. These items include grains such as cereal, pasta, rice, and flour, evaporated and dry milk, cooking oils, canned fruits and vegetables, dried fruits, proteins including canned meats, dried beans, and peanut butter, coffee, paper products, diapers, and cleaning products. Requests for mosquito control now available through Lafayette 311, Mosquito Prevention and Safety. Lafayette Consolidated Government, or LCG, is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish. An increased mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event, and we've had many this past year, or this year so far. Citizens in noticing an influx of mosquitoes in the area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. Okay, we'll get back into our news. Louisiana probing jobless claims for fraud, delays of benefits expected by Christian Mossbrucker, staff writer. Louisiana has halted payments on tens of thousands of new unemployment claims filed after November 5th as it weaves through potentially fraudulent claims. Louisiana Workforce Commission saw a drastic increase in first-time jobless claims in the past 2 weeks, and about 32,000 claims are being rigorously reviewed for validity, the agency said Wednesday. For the week ending November 14th, the state showed first-time jobless claims surging to 43,618, compared with 10,045 filed the week before, and then dropping back in its latest report to 9,320. New unemployment claims have not reached such a height since early May as pandemic-related lockdowns took a toll on employment. New jobless applications had been on a mostly downward trend since late September. In addition to the surge it saw in traditional unemployment claims, new applications around the state for the federal pandemic unemployment assistance program, which is mostly for self-employed and so-called gig workers, saw 39,500 new claims 2 weeks ago, which dropped to only 9,697 new claims in the latest report. Since the coronavirus pandemic began, the state agency already has stopped more than 160,000 jobless claims that are potentially fraudulent or tied to identity theft, with that number growing daily as fraud attempts are made. The agency noted that there has been an increase in fraudulent activity regarding unemployment claims across the country. Our office remains conscientious in detecting and combating fraud, Eva Dijo, Secretary of the Louisiana Workforce Commission, said Wednesday. We are tracking this data to identify any potential fraudulent claims that may have been filed. We apologize for any delay or inconvenience this issue may bring to our Louisiana families and workers, especially entering the holiday season. As a result, all unemployment seekers may experience a delay in the payment of benefits, the agency said. The agency is working with an undisclosed vendor to implement new security measures to prevent future fraud. People filing unemployment insurance claims must now upload personal identification to verify their identity, and people should expect to upload documents again if they have already done so. We monitor and review our systems on a daily basis as people committing the fraud constantly change their methods, Dijoy said. We work diligently with our security team and federal and state law enforcement to stay ahead of the fraud schemes. Many of the 43,618 first-time claims for the week of November 21st, about 10,400 of them, came in real estate, rental, and leasing services, and another 7,000 in professional, scientific, and technical services. Both categories do not typically lead the job sectors hit by layoffs in Louisiana during the pandemic, and neither has had any major layoffs recently. Claims and past reports that typically come from the hard-hit food services and hotel accommodations category, followed by education and health services and construction. The state has amended the claims and data and previously submitted to the federal government until it can further review all the suspicious claims. Louisiana Workforce Commission decided to stop all payments from the Unemployment Trust Fund and Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program filed after November 5th, pending further identity verification. The agency reminded people that it does not contact jobless applicants directly seeking personal information and that they should not share personal information. Rather, all information is added directly into the state's website through password-protected portals. The U.S. Department of Labor said an unexpected spike in new unemployment claims is one indicator of potential fraud and laid out the process for determining explanations. If there is evidence of fraud, the federal government brings in the Office of the Inspector General and other resources through the Unemployment Insurance Integrity Center. When that occurs, the department is immediately in contact with the state to assess the situation and work with the state to address it. According to a Department of Labor spokesperson, the department is currently working with and supporting Louisiana and other state efforts to prevent, detect, and recover fraudulent payments. During a late October interview, Dujois said that Workforce Commission was investigating 84,000 potentially fraudulent unemployment claims then. Some of these claims could have been legitimate and caused by paperwork errors, like a business not having a record of someone who worked for them or a business person's address being incorrectly entered. But in some cases, crime rings have been trolling the internet to find publicly available information on Louisiana workers and attempting to file fraudulent unemployment claims on their behalf without their knowledge. Anytime there are funds being used, a program to help people in the community, there is always going to be fraud, she said at the time. Dijois said it was impossible to compare the potential fraud that has happened during the pandemic with unemployment fraud in past years because of the sheer scope of people being helped during the pandemic. In all of 2019, the state paid out $153 million in unemployment benefits to 100,000 recipients. In contrast, from March 22nd to October 19th, She said there was $6.5 billion in unemployment payments made from federal and state funds, and the scope of workers who are eligible for benefits has greatly expanded because of the pandemic to include people who are self-employed and gig workers. Next story, officials of Louisiana mail-in ballot system works, explosion of votes cast in 2020 by Sam Carlin, staff writer. Charlene Menard, the registrar of voters in Lafayette Parish, got an email during the presidential election from a woman who wanted to know if her grandmother's vote had been counted. After checking the records, Menard wrote back to inform the caller that no, the vote wasn't tallied. Her grandmother had been dead since 2005. I think it was just somebody trying to see if someone voted in her place, Menard said. Across Louisiana, voters chose to cast their ballots by mail in the November 3rd election at unheard of rates. In all, 167,416 people voted by mail in Louisiana. That shattered the previous record of just over 63,000 set in 2016. Even though state officials did only a modest expansion of mail voting during the pandemic. Early voting is underway for the December 5th runoff election to choose between candidates who do not win outright on November 3rd. After 2 days off for Thanksgiving and Acadian Day, early voting resumes early voting resumes for one more day, Saturday. As of Tuesday night, 73,396 voted early, 24,412 of whom mailed their ballots. That's ahead of the pace in the December 2016 runoff. The use of mail ballots has exploded in Louisiana and across the country during this election cycle, despite widespread allegations of fraud and pre-election worries that the U.S. Postal Service couldn't keep up. Local election officials in Louisiana say they have no evidence of fraud involving a large number of votes and a relatively small number of ballots being disqualified. That's when you just shake your head about Facebook and Twitter claims of fraud that are completely baseless, said Lafayette Parish Clerk of Court, Louis Perret. In East Baton Rouge Parish, the state's most populous, more than 19,000 voted by mail, but only 107 ballots were completely rejected, according to Registrar of Voters Steve Rayborn. That was fewer than the number crossed out in the summer elections, in which turnout was far lower. In Orleans Parish, Registrar of Voters Sandra Wilson said 234 ballots were rejected out of the more than 14,000 who voted by mail. Nearly 8,700 voted by mail in the Republican stronghold of Lafayette Parish, where Menard said 172 ballots were disqualified. And in Jefferson Parish, the Registrar Dennis DeMarco said 202 of more than 16,000 mail ballots were rejected. Those ballots weren't disqualified for various reasons, officials said. He said the vast majority had to be tossed because voters, most of whom were older than 65, forgot to sign or provide a witness signature, which is required. A handful were disqualified because they were received after the deadline, usually because they were dropped in the mail a day or two before the deadline. We did not see any fraud with the surge of mail-in ballots, said Perret. The system works. I was surprised the rejection number was as low as it was, DeMarco said. Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin's office said along with the 167,416 who voted by mail, another 34,853 requested an absentee ballot but ended up voting in person instead. Fewer than 20,000 people requested an absentee ballot but did not vote at all, Ardoin spokesman Tyler Bray said. Ardoin said he couldn't comment on the limited instances of potential voter fraud in the election. He doesn't yet have a tally of complaints lodged. Usually it's a small number. If it was something broad scale, I think it would already be out there. Already major accusations, Ardoin said. None of that happened in Louisiana. Officials who oversaw the processing and counting of the historic levels of mail ballots say the process went mostly smoothly for several reasons. For one, voters in the highly divisive election usually made sure they were filling out the ballots correctly. If they didn't, government officials would call them to ask them to come cure their ballot or fix their mistakes, which many did. Officials were able to complete the count of the high number of ballots on election night, they said, because lawmakers passed a law allowing them 4 extra days before the election to process the ballots and they received additional staff. After working a long day November 3rd, sequestered in their offices, officials finished their work, unlike other states that were still counting weeks later. Louisiana ordered people affected by the pandemic the ability to get mail-in ballots if they met several specific criteria, including those experiencing symptoms or caring for someone with COVID-19. The expansion was done at the direction of a federal judge, Republican lawmakers Ardoin, and Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards couldn't reach a deal on an emergency plan. Still, only a few thousand used those COVID-19 excuses. The vast majority of mail-in voters were 65 and older, people who are always eligible to vote by mail. According to the final statistical report on the election, Louisiana saw a 70% turnout in the November 3rd election, the highest since 1996. Ray Bourne of East Baton Rouge spent a 12-hour day with his election workers on the 8th floor of City Hall on election night, where they were sequestered to his offices to count mail votes. In addition to the rejected ballots, some had to be duplicated because voters selected multiple candidates for president. Duplication allowed Ray Bourne to count the rest of the ballot's selections, but they didn't experience anything nefarious, Ray Bourne said. If you ask any of the registrar voters in the other parishes, they would say the same. The whole process was rife with integrity. Folks in elections burned the midnight oil and did everything possible so voters would have an opportunity to vote. Almost 1,000 people in Lafayette Parish who received a small ballot chose to vote, a mail ballot, chose to vote in person, Menard said, mostly because they said they didn't want to take that chance with the Postal Service. Menard said she did have an issue with a nursing home that moved its residents, leading to mail ballots being returned undeliverable. Only 84 ballots arrived after the deadline, she said. In Justin Parish, only 69 ballots were tossed because they arrived after the deadline, DeMarco said. As in much of the U.S., Louisiana had a partisan split between early votes and election day voting. According to Baton Rouge pollster John Couvillon, President Donald Trump's lead was 53% to 46% in Louisiana's early and mail period, compared with 63% to 35% on election day. He won Louisiana's electors on a 48% to 40% vote over President-elect Joe Biden. Okay, it is time for our half hour during our hour break at the half hour mark to read the day in history, the zodiac or horoscope as I like to refer to it, and the funerals in the Kenneana area for today. Today is Friday, November 27th. It's the 332nd day of 2020. There are potentially 34 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on November 27, 1924, Macy's first Thanksgiving Day parade, billed as a Christmas parade, took place in New York. On this date in 1701, astronomer Anders Celsius, inventor of the Celsius temperature scale, was born in Uppsala, Sweden. In 1910, New York's Pennsylvania Station officially opened. 1942, during World War II, the Vichy French Navy scuttled its ships and submarines in Toulon to keep them out of the hands of German troops. 1953, playwright Eugene O'Neill died in Boston at the age of 65. 62, the first Boeing 727 was rolled out at the company's Renton plant. 1970, Pope Paul VI, visiting the Philippines, was slightly wounded at the Manila airport by a dagger-wielding Bolivian painter disguised as a priest. In 1973, the Senate voted 92-3 to confirm Gerald R. Ford as vice president, succeeding Spiro T. Agnew, who had resigned. In 1978, San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and City Supervisor Harvey Milk, a gay rights activist, were shot to death inside City Hall by former Supervisor Dan White. White served 5 years for manslaughter. He died by suicide in 1985. Also in the state in 1998, answering 81 questions put to him 3 weeks earlier, President Bill Clinton wrote the House Judiciary Committee that his testimony in the Monica Lewinsky affair was not false and misleading. 1989, a bomb blamed on drug traffickers destroyed a Colombian Avianca Boeing 727, killing all 107 people on board and 3 people on the ground. 1999, Northern Ireland's biggest party, the Ulster Unionists, clear the way for the speedy formation of an unprecedented Protestant Catholic administration. Also on this date in 2000, a day after George W. Bush was certified the winner of Florida's presidential vote, Al Gore laid out his case for letting the courts settle the nation's long count election. 10 years ago, the State Department released a letter from its top lawyer to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, warning that an expected imminent release of classified cables will put countless lives at risk, threaten global counterterrorism operations, and jeopardize U.S. relations with its allies. 5 years ago, a gunman attacked a Planned Parenthood clinic in Colorado Springs, Colorado, killing 3 people and injuring 9. Suspect Robert Deere was sent to a psychiatric hospital after being deemed incompetent for trial. 1 year ago, 2 explosions, 13 hours apart, at a chemical plant in East Texas blew out windows and doors in nearby homes and prompted an evacuation order for more than 50,000 people. 3 plant workers sustained minor injuries. Today's birthdays: Academy Award-winning director Catherine Bigelow is 69. TV host Bill Nye the Science Guy, is 65 today. Caroline Kennedy, famous of the Kennedys, is 63. Academy Award-winning screenwriter Callie Corey is 63. Jazz composer, big band leader Maria Schneider is 60. Actor Fisher Stevens is 57. Actor Robin Givens is 56. Rapper Twista is 48. And actor Jaleel White is 44 years old. You may remember him as Urkel. Zodiac, or horoscope as I like to refer to it: Sagittarius, stay close to home and make yourself comfortable. More things around to give yourself the space you need to pursue a project you want to start. Capricorns, take an interest in home and family, and open dialogue will give you a better understanding of what others want and help us to maintain balance and meaningful relationships. Aquarius, structure your time carefully. Look for ways to use your attributes to help you get ahead. Your efforts will go unnoticed. Don't let a last-minute change upset you, and go with the flow. Pisces, how you express yourself will make an impression on someone who can help you. A unique idea or plan will encourage you to update your skills. Romance is favored. Aries, look at your finances and sort out it's going to cost to get what you want. An investment will change the way you live. Don't give in to uncertainty. Do your research. Taurus, dive into something that excites you. Take a look at how you can exploit a situation to improve your position, status, or reputation. A meaningful relationship can help you get what you want. Gemini, evaluate your relationships and consider who is right for you. Information you receive will push you to update personal documents and to prepare for upcoming changes. Cancer, promote what you intend to do and stand by your word. Forge a better relationship with people who share your objectives. A romantic gesture will bring you closer to a loved one. Leo, don't feel that you must change how you do things just because someone else does. Be yourself and do what feels right. Don't let anyone confuse and mislead you. Virgo, the information you pick up will verify something that you expected all along. Put the changes you want to make in motion and start a dialogue with a loved one. Romance is favored. Libra, finish what you start. If you leave something undone, you have to have answers for any delays. Don't put pressure on others or bend to someone's whims. Make plans to do something healthy. Scorpio, you have plenty on your mind. Don't confuse yourself by trying to do everything at once. Structure your day to maximize productivity. Plan something special for you and a loved one. And the horoscope, as you know, is an entertainment feature not based on scientific fact. The funerals indicating on the area today: Keith Bork, Skip Monte Memorial Chapel at Lafayette Arduin Funeral Home, 2845 South Union Street in Opelousas at 3 p.m. And James Levy Sr., Melanson Funeral Home, 108 North Lexington Avenue in Bunkie at 10 a.m. Okay, we'll read another public service announcement before we move on to the entertainment news this morning. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra takes the virtual stage. The ASO, or Acadiana Symphony Orchestra, announces that they are shifting the fall portion of the ASO 36 revival season, September to December to a virtual live stream platform. ASO believes that this is the unquestionable solution to keeping our community safe while still providing opportunities for local musicians to share their passion and earn income despite mandated restrictions and uncertain venue viability. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra has and will always remain committed to providing outstanding performances to Acadiana and fueling the cultural economy of our region. Symphony businesses and organizations across the country are having to rethink, retool, and reinvent, and we are no different. So thank you for your grace and your patience as we map out the next few months. We are working tirelessly behind the scenes to solidify plans for these virtual concerts, and it is our commitment to you that we will certainly and concisely communicate ASO 36 revival season details in the coming weeks. At a minimum, we are certain that you will receive the highest quality live streaming performances which you can enjoy from virtually anywhere. And they've already had a few concerts, so we'll continue with the next one. It's called Believe. That's Thursday, December 17th, 2020, as a virtual performance. The next program will be Adore, Friday, February 12th, 2021, virtual from the Acadiana Center for the Arts of the ACA. The next program, Empower, Friday, April 16th, 2021, St. Charles Cathedral, also virtual. And Revive, Thursday, May 13th, 2021, at St. Mary's Church, virtual. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for our households that don't have internet but do have a television. Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC2, Cox 16, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and disseminate content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. Okay, and now we'll get back into some entertainment news. And this one's entitled Out of the Box. Anne Savoy finally wraps up her sequel to her 1984 classic Cajun music book by John Ward, contributing writer. Anne Savoy has completed the long-awaited second volume of her landmark book, Cajun Music, A Reflection of a People. A Grammy-nominated musician, writer, and photographer in Eunice, Savoy published the first volume of her now two-part compendium of Cajun music and culture in 1984. She continued gathering material for the second volume until the early 1990s, when family responsibilities and her music making compelled her to put the time-consuming book work aside. I was touring, I had 4 children, and I was making a bunch of records, Savoy said last week. It was crazy. So I put the book in a box and thought, my kids can finish this. Savoy has now grown children, including Cajun musicians Joel, Wilson, and Sarah, and their friends later encouraged her to play Cajun Music, A Reflection of a People, Volume 2. They said, you've got to get that out of the box. And they helped me get it going again. It was a major project, as you can imagine when you see how huge it is. Exhausted through the 2 volumes of Cajun Music, A Reflection of a People, our Savoy never intended them to be definitive accounts of Cajun Creole and Zydeco music. They contain musicians whose music I personally love, she explained. It's not a reflection of who the most important artists are, and I don't put modern people in there except a couple of Creole and Zydeco guys. I usually don't put any young people in my books. That's kind of the rule. I'm documenting the old folks, the ones who created the music and made it what it is. The power in the traditional Cajun music is what I like. A native of Richmond, Virginia, Savoy moved to Louisiana in 1977, following her marriage to musician and accordion maker Mark Savoy. The Savoy Music Center in Eunice is a gathering place for Cajun musicians, and it has been since the 1960s, became ground zero for her musical and cultural explorations. The great artists would be at Mark's music store, she said. I would hang out there, meet the musicians, and set up appointments to go interview them. Originally, Savoy planned to publish a songbook only albeit featuring French and English lyrics plus phonetic spellings for the pronunciations. I was doing that to show Americans what the occasions was saying, she said. When I started visiting the musicians, they were so fascinating. And they all had these cool photos. I thought, this has got to be bigger. Along with the musical scores, lyrics, and photos, both volumes feature oral history straight from the musicians. I'd like to hear the voices, Savoy said. I like the words they choose and their humor. And the way a person speaks tells a lot about their culture and the way they see the world. Savoy published Volume 1 of Cajun Music, a reflection of people through her own Bluebird Press. Because I wanted total control, she said, of taking the self-published route, I wanted the book to look exactly how I wanted it to look. I like a big format, big photos, and I didn't want a publisher to group all the photos in one section. The musician subjects in Volume 1 attended the book's launch party. It was such an historical cultural event that folklorist Barry Jean Onsley told Savoy, if this building burns down today, the Cajun culture will be dead. Proving internationally popular, the 444-page Volume 1 captured the American Folklore Society's Watkin Book Award. A review in the Washington Post cited it as perhaps the most comprehensive and stunning portrait of this music ever written. Savoy's highly empathetic approach avoids the folklorist's stumbling block, that is, the tendency of scholarly outsiders to embalm folk cultures in intellectual or romantic vapors. People all over the world have it, Savoy said. They call it the Cajun Bible. I'm not bragging. It just happens to be that everybody who likes Cajun music likes this book. Savoy also realized that everyone who bought Volume 1, which has sold 15,000 copies, would want Volume 2. Every festival I go to, people ask when Volume 2 was coming out, she said. Not performing this year during the coronavirus pandemic came Savoy time to finally complete Cajun Music, a reflection of the people, Volume 2. Pandemic is the only reason I finished, she admitted, because I traveled so much I would never have stayed home to do this. So it's been really rewarding being home and completing this massive project that I've been trying to finish forever. The 436-page second volume of Cajun Music, a reflection of the people, is available for pre-order at AnnSavoy.com. That's ANNSAVOY.com and SavoyMusicCenter.com. With shipment expected by December 18th, the softcover edition is $45 and limited hardcover edition is $70. Continuing with entertainment news, Comfort and Joy virtual concerts bring help, including to Manship Theater by John Ward, contributing writer to The Advocate. Holidays are usually Jim Brickman's busiest time of the year. This year, because of the coronavirus pandemic, the pianist, singer, and songwriter, known for his soothing style and beautiful melodies, is live streaming his Comfort and Joy at Home tour to his fans. In collaboration with 77 concert venues throughout the nation, Brickman mobile form concerts almost daily this holiday season. Baton Rouge Manship Theater Comfort and Joy at Home tour show begins at 7 p.m. Wednesday. First of all, I want to do something for these theaters that have always been so good to me, Brickman said last week. They're struggling so much during this time. And I wanted to make these concerts a community experience rather than a national anybody-can-watch type of experience. Brickman's calming songs and instrumentals may just be what the doctor ordered in this most unusual year. I hope what I do is an antidote for some of the anxiety, piano said from New York City as sirens wailed in the background. I just do what I do, but it happens to be appropriate for the time we're living in. The Comfort and Joy at Home tour follows the release of Brickman's new holiday album, Soothe Christmas, Volume 6. A prolific recording artist who's released 21 #1 albums, Brickman's recent recordings also include his Brickman for Broadway and Brickman for Broadway Christmas albums, featuring Broadway stars singing the songs. The albums and a streaming concert on Saturday will benefit the Actors Fund. During a devastating time for the performing arts, Brickman said he's making lemonade from lemons. His time off the road during the pandemic gave him the opportunity to realize his longtime dream to do the Broadway projects. In normal times, these artists would never have been available to do this because they'd all be performing, he said. It was such an amazing experience to have these singers bring my songs to life. Following the pandemic-imposed shutdown in March, Brickman streamed performances every Friday night. He pulled the plug on them a few months later after a surge in other online performances. For his Comfort and Joy at Home tour, Brickman promises excellent production values and much more than just another live from the coast show. I loathe that, he said. Also, at Christmas, people have expectations for my live show. I want to make it as close to that as possible. It's beautifully shot and experiential. Pianists also promise to play the hits. All my holiday hits, Christmas hymns, and usually a couple of hits that are not Christmas, he said. If you're lucky enough to have hits, you should play them. Another of his recent albums, 25th Anniversary Greatest Hits, offers Brickman a reluctant vocalist singing every song himself. The collection marks the 25th anniversary of Brickman's 1994 album debut, No Words. A creative breakthrough for the Ohio native, the album launched his successful career. I was lost when I moved to Los Angeles, he recalled. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just booked studio time for myself and recorded some of my own compositions on the piano, just for therapy. When I listened to the recordings, I thought, there's nothing out there like this. Pop songs, but original pop songs with solo piano. I never thought in a million years I would be a performer on stage or ever have the opportunities that I've had. So far, so good. Tickets for the Manship Theater concert, a shared performance with the Grand Theater in Wausau, Wisconsin, and for the Arts in Des Moines, Iowa, are available at jimbrickman.com/tour. Venues participating in the Comfort and Joy at Home tour will receive a portion of the ticket sales proceeds. 3 tiers of tickets are available, from basic access to a YouTube link to an interactive gift package to a post-concert virtual meet and greet. Okay, well, let's get into our sports. Revised rivalry, timeout. Kevin Foote, staff writer and sports writer for The Advocate. And this is usually timeout is his column, his personal column, so it's from his perspective or viewpoint. History just doesn't seem to apply to this year's UL-ULM matchup. It's one of UL coach Billy Napier's favorite things to say. The past is a best indicator of the future. There's a lot of truth in that statement. Typically, few adhere to considering the historical impacts of a matchup more than I do. The past says that UL-ULM rivalry is arguably the best one in the history of Cajuns football. UL leads the all-time series 29-25 with 29 games decided by a touchdown or less, or 15 by a field goal no less. More recently, the past 2 games in the series were decided by missed Warhawks field goals at the buzzer. In Napier's first season, ULM posed a potential game-tying 36-yard field goal on the game's final play for a 31-28 UL win, while last year we missed a 34-yarder by the Warhawks, would have won it in a 31-30 Cajuns win. Moreover, the Cajuns won 10 of their 11 games last season by double figures. The one exception was a nail-biter over ULM. If the trend continues in 2020, even I will have solid history short for a change. Well, I want to have sold history short for a change. This is a rivalry game, and we completely understand that things go with it, Napier said. Understood, but it just can't happen again, can it? It's possible the winless Warhawks have the worst case of COVID fatigue of any team in America. The defensive coordinator resigned less than 2 weeks away from the season opener. The number of players who opted out entered the transfer portal or just haven't been available this season is staggering. And get this statistic. Opponents have rushed for 111 first downs this season to ULM's 31. While considering those figures, take a mental picture of the UL's offensive line and the running back trio of Elijah Mitchell, Trey Raga, and Chris Smith. To finish, we're worried about this week, so obviously go out and do as good as you can, play as hard as you can. Let's don't beat ourselves, the normal things ULM coach Matt Viator said. It's a different situation. It's not what these kids expected. Nothing like I've ever been through for sure. But I keep telling them, I heard Arkansas State coach Blake Anderson say a while ago, control what you can control your effort, control your attitude, help out your teammates, and let's go try to improve and see what we can do this Saturday. That's basically the message. It is true turnovers are the great equalizer. And as I've been known to say, this ain't John Curtis versus Amu. But it's just hard to imagine this one going down to the wire again. One thing is for sure, the Warhawks should be rested, not having played since 52-34 road loss to Georgia State on November 7th. In that game, quarterback Jeremy Hunt got his first start of the season and delivered in a big way with 26-39 passing for 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. On the other hand, the Cajuns are rested too after last week's game against Central Arkansas was canceled due to COVID-19 issues, and the Cajun secondary has become elite with 11 interceptions and 33 pass breakups on the season. After their first 6 wins went down to the wire, the Cajuns finally earned a fourth quarter breather and a dominating 38-10 win over South Alabama on November 14th. It sure seems like the Cajuns are more ready to hit their stride and surge to the finish line. One occasion that won't be overlooking the Warhawks is junior right tackle Max Mitchell from Neville High in Monroe. I want to pause here for a second to say it's 9:56 by my clock, which means that the audio portion of today's broadcast will end at our TV stations if you listen to our broadcast that way. But you can also listen to our broadcast this morning by tuning in to our online streaming station, which is Cypress Street Radio, CYPRESS Street Radio. Just put it in your browser, go to the homepage, click the play button, or go to our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media. So continuing, personally being from Monroe, I take it personally that this game, Mitchell said, I want to make sure we put these guys to rest before I can move on to whatever is next. It's big for me. I have a couple of friends who go to school there. I remember 2 years ago, we beat them at home. They were sitting right behind me, talking trash like the whole game. I think it's big for them. I think we should take it seriously. Redshirt sophomore safety Kim Pettisclew certainly isn't buying what history is selling. Last 2 years, the deciding factors have been field goals, he said. We're not trying to make it that close this year. Those games are good for the fans, but they're very hard for the players. Playing, you want to win by a comfortable lead. In the last 2 years, that hasn't been the case. So this year, we need to take advantage of our momentum and finish strong in that game. Napier said he's got great respect for the football team ULM head coach Matt Viator is. They'll be motivated, Napier said. Coach V is an exceptional coach. He does a great job with his players. We've got to be ready to go. If not, we'll get exposed. It's not about questioning the ability of the ULM staff. It's about the reality and the weight of the brutal season the Warhawks are enduring and what the Cajuns still have left to achieve. If history butts in this time around, it'll be time for everyone to bow to it. And the UL and ULM game is tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. You can watch it online at ESPN3, or you can listen to it at the radio, on your radio dial, or streaming radio, KHXT-FM, that's 107.9, or KPEL AM is 1420. And that about wraps it up for this morning's broadcast. This has been a Local News Live. We present this to you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. with our volunteer newspaper readers like myself. If you're interested in becoming a volunteer newspaper reader, just go to our website, aocinc.org. That's aocinc.org. Go to the volunteer tab, bring it down, go to the newspaper section of that volunteer tab, fill out the form, and Ms. Mandy will get in touch with you and set you up. All the volunteers have been reading from their home studios because of the COVID. We just can't go into AOC's regular podcast booth, which it's getting fainter and fainter for me now. It's been almost 10 months since I've been in the podcast booth. I miss it, but we'll get back there at some point. You got to believe, right? As always, I say, this is Bruce Cohen, will always be Bruce. And I want you to be safe, healthy, and smart. Continue to be smart, folks. I say it every time I read the news. Just be smart. Just wear a mask. It's no big deal. Wear a mask. Keep your distance from people you don't know. Because if you do have the virus and you pass it on to somebody else, that's not good. So just be very smart about where you go, especially today being Black Friday, tomorrow being Small Business Saturday, out shopping for Christmas gifts or holiday gifts. Just be careful for the people around you. Take the protocols. We're back in phase 2, or modified phase 2, I should say. So just be smart when you're out there. Let's be safe and let's stop the spread. All right? Okay. And also be kind to each other. As always, every day, just be kind to each other. Have a great day. We'll see you on the flip flop.